Good morning.
Good morning.
Please stand and join me in the opening words. How we
Long for your happiness. Treasure one another as life's greatest gift. Treasure the days you share, the warm moments of your waking and sleeping, the grind and marvel of your years side by side, the intoxicating liquor of love with its pain and its passion, its loving and its hating. Cherish all this. It is but for one tiny moment upon life's ever-turning wheel.
Join me in singing number 347, Together the Spirit.
Our commitment to justice challenges us to speak and act for all who seek to express their love in the commitment of marriage. We believe where there is love, the sacred is in our midst.
In the chalice lighting statement, we
gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs, We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together.
Please light individual candles of joy and concern.
For community at large, those who protect and serve here and overseas, and for those who can't be with us here today. And Bobby asked me to light one for her grandson Jacob, who is playing today. So.
Glenn and I have talked about our adopted family, the Saxon family, before, and the one who was kind of the patriarch of that family for 30-some years passed away last Sunday. So this one is for him and all the Saxons and for us.
May we pray? Spirit of life, we know you by many names or by no name at all. We give thanks for the gift of human relationships. Today, we pray for the justices of the Supreme Court who will hear arguments for the freedom to marry on Tuesday. Give them the spirit of wisdom and understanding, that they may discern what is right. Give the attorneys skill in their arguments, that they may inspire justice. Give the plaintiffs courage, strength, and perseverance. Bless us all as we seek to live in a world where all couples who wish may enjoy the benefits of marriage. Amen. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. May we have the offering at this time. Celebrating diversity, we are journeying in love toward full inclusion. So, speaker number one, please.
We have sojourned in slavery, where women were the property of men, and marriage was arranged for purposes of power, control, and maintaining the separations of tribe and race. But we have seen change. We have known movement. The law is moving from oppressor toward liberator. 4 decades ago, the courts removed the barrier of race, making legal the marriage of Mildred and Richard. Today we seek the freedom to marry for all loving couples. We choose to lay down our burdens and build a firm foundation in wisdom gained from experience. Celebrating diversity, we are journeying in love towards full conclusion.
Speaker 2?
In the past decade, the tide has turned and we have been lifted by an ever-growing wave of freedom state by state, beginning in Massachusetts, then building through California, Connecticut, Iowa, Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire, District of Columbia, New York, Washington, Maryland, Rhode Island, Delaware, Minnesota, New Jersey, Hawaii, Illinois, New Mexico, Oregon, Pennsylvania, and Florida. We have savored the joy of each victory. When we feel beaten down by the length of the weight, we find rest as we are lifted by the rising tide of change, encouraging our belief that total victory is inevitable because love always wins. We choose to lay down our burdens and build a firm foundation in wisdom gained from experience.
Celebrating diversity, we are journeying in love towards full inclusion.
The weight of opinion has shifted from opposition to support. 3 years ago, 4 states supported marriage equality and majority votes in popular elections. 2 years ago, a 51st senator expressed support, giving marriage equality majority support among United States senators. Last year, in a national poll, support of marriage equality reached 59%. We are seeing the truth of Dr. King's words that the moral arc of history is long, but it bends towards justice. As we push and we pull the heavy obstacles in the way of inclusion, we find hope in the tipping of the scales. We choose to lay down our burdens and build a firm foundation from the wisdom gained from experience.
Celebrating diversity, we are journeying in love towards full inclusion.
There can be a wide gap between justice and compassion. Justice has mandated change, freeing same-sex couples to marry, even in places where it is far from welcome. We yearn for the law of the land to achieve the ideal of equality for all. We will also long for softening of hearts and leading to acceptance of new normal, where all couples are free to be whom God made them to be without fear of rejection or reprisal. We choose to lay down our burdens with a firm foundation in wisdom gained from our experience.
Celebrating diversity, we are journeying in love towards full inclusion.
From the depths, when we cry out, we are heard. We are heard and we are saved. We are saved by love. We bear witness to the power of love. We believe that God is love. And so we believe that love is God. Thus, love is the most powerful force in the universe. Love conquers fear. Love never fails. We proclaim this with joy, with hope, and with pride, that love wins. Love always wins. Love is the foundation upon which everything good is built. The strength of love, both human and divine, is like a rock that cannot be moved. You are now invited to come to the table and take from it one of the river stones worn smooth by the torrential waters, made lovely by the journey.
Celebrating diversity.
We are journeying in love towards full inclusion. Hold fast to hope as we journey in love.
Please join me in singing hymn number 325, Love Makes a Bridge.
Now this is a relatively new song, so I'm going to play the melody through once.
Oh, good.
And then we'll sing the song. Now that's a sort of strange melody. Do you want to hear it again?
We've
I
sung
think
it
we've,
before.
we've done it before,
Well,
yes,
it's
so
been a
I think
while.
we'd be good.
Okay, I'll play it one more.
Love makes a bridge from heart to heart and to end. Love fills our blind and freedom then. Love breaks the walls of language, gender, class, and age. Love gives us wings to slip the bars of every cage. Love lifts the hopes that force and fear have beaten down. Love breaks the chains and gives us strength to stand our Love rings the bells of wanted birth and wedding day. Love guides the hands that promise more than words can say. Love is a bridge that winds may shake, yet not destroy. Love carries faith through life and death to endless joy.
Please be seated. This special music today is called Waiting All My Life, a marriage equality song by Javon.
Thank
This is called Grounded Angel. By Naomi Young. He was a grounded angel, given wings by God, taken away by humanity. He was going to soar, fly high and float on his love, sail on the breeze of his passion, but they dragged him down. They said, "You can't fly. It's not right. It's immoral. It's evil. Flying is wrong." They clipped his wings, but he held on to them, kept them in a box, took them out and looked at them, flapped them for takeoff, and dreamed of flying again, flying far, far away to another place, a place where flying was good and right, where he could fly high and float on his love, sail on the breeze of his passion, stare into the eyes of his love, and kiss them, and no one would tell him it was wrong. I don't know how many of you know Kristen and my story of trying to get married in this state. My driver's license and social security, everything was all changed to male gender. And so we went to Medina County Courthouse to get our marriage license. All you're supposed to show is your driver's license. The clerk handed me the license. One of the judges came by that knew me from before and ripped it up. Said, "You won't get married in this state." So we went over to Summit County, where Kristen is from, because you're supposed to get the license where you're from. And they'd already called over there and told them not to give us the license. When we got back home, I received a phone call from the judge telling me that if I tried to get a license anywhere in the state of Ohio, I would be taken to court for fraud and put in prison. So we ended up going to Connecticut. All I had to show was my ID that said male. The license says male and female. We got married with no issues, no problems. The federal government recognizes that we can file federal taxes and everything. The state could give me a hard time if they really wanted to. A birth certificate, an adoption form, a marriage license, a state identification card, a tax return, a medical authorization form, a home loan, a living will, a social security payment, a death certificate. These are just some of the documents that populate our lives, marking key moments and allowing us to build and care for our families. And yet, for too many same-sex couples in the United States, each of these documents becomes more complicated because of restrictive laws around the freedom to marry. Of course, people don't get married just so they can change these documents. Over and over, while speaking with same-sex couples, you'll have a common refrain. My marriage license is not just a piece of paper, it's so much more than that. Marriage says we are family like no other word can. It speaks to the values of family, self-sacrifice, and makes an important public statement of commitment to one another. Still, the fact remains that the protections that come with marriage are critical elements of what makes the institution so powerful. In ways large and small, these protections enable same-sex couples to care for their families and give them an equal opportunity to ensure their safety. On April 28th, the United States Supreme Court will hear oral arguments on the freedom to marry cases from Kentucky, Michigan, Ohio, and Tennessee that could end marriage discrimination nationwide. 13 states currently ban marriage for same-sex couples. The plaintiffs in the cases are being represented by the American Civil Liberties Union, Gay and Lesbian Advocates and Defenders, Lambda Legal, the National Center for Lesbian Rights, and attorneys from a variety of law firms. Mary Bonito, GLAAD's Civil Rights Project Director, and Douglas Hallward-Riemer will argue the cases before the Supreme Court. The personal stories of the plaintiffs in each of these cases, from the birth of their children to the death of their spouses, vividly show the critical importance of the protections that come with marriage. Through every phase of a couple's life, marriage truly matters. In so many ways, the couples represented in the cases before the U.S. Supreme Court are like any other couple. They meet some decades ago, they got to know each other's families members, and they began building their lives together. They celebrate anniversaries and birthdays and new jobs and small victories. Some have welcomed babies into their lives. Others have adopted children. We do exactly the same things as everyone else does, Matthew Mansell, a plaintiff in the Tennessee marriage case with his husband, John Esposito, told USA Today this year. We teach our kids to ride bikes, we mow the lawn, we do laundry, we argue about money. Tammy Boyd and Kim Franklin and Jim and Luke Barlow Mead are plaintiffs in the Kentucky case. Altogether, these 16 plaintiffs have hundreds of years of commitment between them. It's telling that Kentucky plaintiffs, Tammy Boyd and Kim Franklin, who have been together for nearly 9 years, jokingly consider themselves newlyweds when compared to their co-plaintiffs, Luke and Jim Mead Barlow, who are celebrating their 47th anniversary this year. Their lives are not political, and yet, because of state marriage bans, they are forced to fight to protect their families by standing up for freedom to marry in their home states and now the entire country. For same-sex couples living in states with anti-marriage laws, financial danger or harm is always a looming possibility. These families are all too aware that at any moment something is happening to threaten the stability of their family. Dr. Valeria Tanko and Dr. Sophie Justy, who married in New York in 2011 and moved to the University of Tennessee for their work as professors of veterinary medicine, spoke about these fears while they were pregnant with their first child last year. If anything were to happen where I needed to stop working, then my insurance would be cut off, Tanko said to Out and About Nashville. The women tried to enroll in a single health insurance plan to cover both of them and their baby, but because they work for the University of Tennessee, which participates in the state of Tennessee group health insurance plan, and because Tennessee does not respect their marriage, they were denied. Thankfully, Tanko did not lose her insurance, and the women welcomed a beautiful baby in their lives in March of 2014. But similar feelings of uncertainty plagued the couple. They own their home together in Tennessee and then have deeded the property to themselves. But, as the National Center for Lesbian Rights legal brief to the U.S. Supreme Court explains, because Tennessee law treats them as legal strangers, Doctors Tanko and Justy lack the security of knowing whether Tennessee will in fact treat them as owning their marital home together or as tenants by their entirety. Meaning, when one dies, the other's going to lose the house. Ejop Deco and Tom Kustra and Matthew Mansell and John Esposito are plaintiffs in the Tennessee case also. Many of the financial protections of marriage are not simply what-ifs. For example, every year, same-sex couples in non-marriage states are confronted with the question of how to file their taxes. These Tennessee marriage plaintiffs, for instance, are legally married. They can declare their federal taxes as a married couple, but when filing their state taxes, they must check single and file separately, a complicated mess that can incur steep additional costs and often require an expert accountant. We don't like to think about many of the situations for which marriage is undeniably critically important. But the truth is that in moments of illness or uncertain health, the marriage bond, not just the emotional support of a partner, but the legal tie to a spouse, is essential. In the summer of 2013, Timothy Love and Larry Yanza, plaintiffs in the Kentucky marriage case, experienced this for themselves. During a routine checkup, Tim's doctor discovered 2 major blockages in his heart. She told him they couldn't even administer the prefunctionary stress test on him, saying it was too risky, and advising that he go directly to the hospital where he was told he needed surgery immediately. Tim and Larry, who have been together for nearly 3 decades, didn't have any paperwork authorizing Larry to make medical decisions for Tim. So over the next few days, they rushed to make sure everything was in order, medical power of attorney and other related paperwork, all of which would not have been necessary if the men were able to marry in Kentucky. That's when it hit us. Here we are, and we had always thought about the day that we'd start having health concerns. But you don't think that one day you're going to be 55 years old and have heart issues. You just don't think about things like that. Why should you have to, Tim said. You shouldn't have to draw upon all this extra paperwork to be able to make decisions for your partner of more than 20 years. Many of the other plaintiffs whose marriage cases will be considered by the Supreme Court have also experienced health scares or ongoing care. Michael DeLone and Greg Byrd and Randy Johnson and Paul Campion are plaintiffs in the Kentucky case, Bork versus Basher. In 2012, Paul Campion was diagnosed with life-threatening cancer at a young age. He and his husband Randy Johnson panicked, knowing that their marriage was not recognized by their home state of Kentucky. We were faced with additional challenges on how to interact with a healthcare system that had the legal right to discriminate against us and to exclude me from decision about Paul's health care. Randy wrote explaining that if Paul's health problems worsened, Randy would be left vulnerable. Jim Oberfeld understands the reality of that vulnerability all too well. In 2011, his partner of more than 20 years, John Arthur, was diagnosed with ALS, a crippling neurological disease that led to John becoming reliant on a cane, then a walker, then a wheelchair. Just 2 years after his diagnosis, John could not leave his bed. The person I loved was physically falling apart. I was happy and privileged to be able to be there to help him. So it's, what else can I do, Jim told BuzzFeed this year in a beautiful piece. I had the great privilege of taking care of John full time as he was dying. In the summer of 2013, Jim and John knew that John was dying and that they knew they wanted to get married, and at last say, I do, before that happened. They chartered a medical plane, flew from their home in Cincinnati to an airport tarmac in Baltimore, Maryland, and were married, with John's aunt presiding over the ceremony. It was short, a few minutes, almost immediately after they boarded the plane again and returned home. They learned shortly after returning that after John's death, the marriage would not be recognized by the state of Ohio. His death certificate would reflect that he was single, with no mention of his marriage to his beloved Jim. Jim and John took the case to court with Gerdenstein and Branch LPA, Newman and Meeks Company LPA, and the American Civil Liberties Union. And they won. John died in October 2013 before a final order was issued in the case, before he could see the case go to the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals and ultimately the United States Supreme Court. I am a husband and I am a widower, Jim said in the summer of 2014 at a rally for the freedom to marry in Ohio. I am not willing to give up my right to be either. John matters, I matter, our marriage matters. I know that when I worked in a nursing home, there was a lesbian couple that had been together for many, many years. And when the one spouse died unexpectedly, the other spouse came to make arrangements and was thrown out by the family as soon as they got there. Told her, you will not make any arrangements. You will not be allowed into the ceremony. And they banned her from even coming to the funeral. She never got to say goodbye. And that's legal in Ohio. The freedom to marry also impacts same-sex couples seeking to expand their families, since law banning marriage sometimes complicate parental ties. That's the issue that same-sex couples took to court in Ohio last year. Kelly Noe and Kelly McCracken and Pam and Nicole York-Smith are plaintiffs in the Ohio case. Same-sex couples who are imminently expecting the birth of a child filed suit seeking an order declaring that upon the birth of their children, both spouses would be listed as parents on the child's birth certificates. These couples included the Henry Rogers family, who said, this is my son that she's carrying. I don't want to feel like a step-parent. We both want to be legally documented on his birth certificate so that he can be properly taken care of. These couples need the freedom to marry and to be recognized as married in order to fully provide and protect their children. Michigan plaintiffs Jane Roy and April DeBauer had a similar epiphany when they were driving with their 3 children in the winter of 2011. A truck, in attempting to pass another car, switched lanes, steering right for April and Jane's car. At the last second, he swerved off the road and veered into a field. April told the New York Times this year, I don't think Jane and I would have survived the impact. It was that moment, that realization, that we needed to get things in order. They tried to draw up paperwork to protect their children. They had 3 at the time and now have 4, but realized that it was impossible in Michigan, where same-sex couples cannot jointly adopt. Only one person in a same-sex relationship can legally adopt a child, and so for Jane and April, each woman is the legal parent of 2 of their children, which means if one dies, the other 2 could go into foster care because they don't belong to the other parent. If anything were to happen to either parent, responsibility for that parent's children would be legally unestablished and open to challenge. So yes, a marriage license is a piece of paper, but as these couples show, it's so much more than that. The refusal to issue and respect marriage licenses between same-sex couples is not simply a refusal to issue one piece of paper. It's a heinous act by the state that forces same-sex couples to face complications and roadblocks at every stage in their lives together. The birth of their children, their decision to move to a different state, the death of a partner. It's time for the U.S. Supreme Court to rule in favor of the freedom to marry nationwide and to end marriage discrimination once and for all. Today at 5 o'clock, all over the state, there will be interfaith prayer meetings. There'll be one in Columbus, one in Cincinnati, one in Cleveland. I will be speaking at the one in Cleveland at 5 o'clock today at the UU Church. It's called the UU Society of Cleveland. It's on, I forgot what road it's on. If anybody's interested and does want to go to this interfaith prayer, hoping that the U.S. Supreme Court makes the right decision, we're thinking that they'll probably make their decision in June. They'll have arguments this next week, and it'll take them till June to make their decision. June is Pride Month. It would be awesome if that's what they decided, that we could all get married. Okay. Please stand and join me in our last song, just as long as I have breath, number 6.
Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I made my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dream and in my dark, always that elusive spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love.
People say, what is the sense of our small effort? They cannot see that we must lay one brick at a time, take one step at a time. A pebble cast into a pond causes ripples that spread in all directions. Each one of our thoughts, words, and deeds is just like that. No one has the right to sit down and feel hopeless. There's too much work to do. Go in peace. Please be seated.